Are you a mom who is struggling with little notes or comments of concern from the teachers about the performance of your child? Do you kind of wish they could just sort it out themselves, especially given how busy you actually are? If that's you, stick around. Hi, my name is Fiona, and welcome to the space in which I help moms of 4 to 12-year-old children transform their children's school academic struggles into successes in order that the mom can go from a space of feeling lost and stuck to a space of confidence and clarity in her own ability to support her child into a much more successful space. A great education can't set up our children for much success in life. However, sometimes we find that in spite of this, or putting the child into a great educational situation, it doesn't work as well as we had hoped. So one of the ways in which to look at this challenge is to examine the temperament of the child. Remember, last video we spoke about temperaments, and there are 4 temperaments. The first is the sanguine, melancholic temperament, which is what we are looking at today, the phlegmatic temperament, and the choleric temperament. Remember, temperaments are basically the default setting of the child, the way in which a child is predisposed to act in various situations. For instance, how do they act when they're scolded? How much do they react when they're scolded, or when they're criticized, when they're praised? Are they easily angered? Are they easygoing children? Are they very focused? Are they just easily distractible? Are they sort of the life and soul of a party, or are they people who in the evening they just prefer to sit quietly with a book? So these are the various ways in which temperament plays out. So from this we see that given the very same set of circumstances, children will react quite differently based on their temperament, their own temperament. Remember that we do not want to use this for putting children into a box. It's more a methodology, or a way, or a guideline, should I say, to help us understand the children's primary motivations, their primary needs and tendencies in any given set of circumstances. So, as mentioned, today we are going to look at the melancholic child. So Art and Lorraine Bennett, in their book, The Temperament God Gave Your Kids, describe the melancholic child as serious, idealistic, cautious. They like to spend time on their own. They love their friends dearly, but they are also comfortable on their own. They're on the introverted side, and they like to reflect. So let's now look at an example of some of the events that may happen in the day of a melancholic child, and how these events can have a bearing on their homework and study. So let's use an example of a boy who we are going to call Emma. So it is break time, and Emma has gone onto the playground, but just as he steps onto the playground, he accidentally bumps into another boy. This is an accident. This other boy reacts quite strongly and says to him, "That was very silly." Obviously, that doesn't make any sense because it was an accident. Emma takes this to heart and is quite upset. He doesn't actually respond to this boy. But throughout break, he's thinking about it and he's wondering why this boy is calling him silly. That is not fair. That's very unkind. So any break time comes to an end and he goes back to class. And he attends the class. He's present, but his mind kind of flits back to the incident of the playground of this other little boy calling him silly. So it's towards the end of the class, and the teacher has given them a bit of homework. There's an aspect, however, of the homework that he does not properly understand. And instead of raising his hand, he thinks about raising his hand, but doesn't raise his hand. After all, the other boy on the playground has called him silly. So he just starts to get a bit concerned that he may actually be silly and his question is not worth asking. So he leaves the class comes to an end. He leaves the class without actually having asked the question that he needed to ask to get his homework done, understood and done properly. So after that, it's time for a music lesson, and they're going to have this music lesson in the hall. Now they're on the way to the hall. He's walking with his best friend, and they're on the way to the hall. But as they're sort of along the way, they decide to run to the hall. His friend accidentally steps on his foot. It doesn't hurt him as such, but he reacts so strongly to his friend and said, "Can't you see that that can be so painful? Why do you step on your foot? Why do you step on my foot? Sorry." Now that obviously doesn't make sense to this other little boy, who is actually very sorry and apologizes profusely, but Emma is upset and he's upset. So for the rest of that day, his friend sort of keeps a bit of distance from Emma, and he's not happy with this, and he's wondering, he was in the wrong. Why is he keeping the distance from me? So that doesn't please Emma, and it also adds to the distractions that he is feeling or he is experiencing. Anyway, it's home time, and his mom comes to pick him. And she just says, they're driving home. She asks how his day was. He says, fine. And they drive home. And on the way, she says, okay, all right, I believe you do have quite a bit of homework to do. Please, when you get home, you can have a quick snack. And while I'm getting dinner ready, please just get going with your homework. He agrees to do so. And he starts working on his homework. Remember, and his study. Remember that there's something that was explained to them as they explained the homework, he hadn't, and there's a bit that he didn't understand very well. He anyway also has this study project that he's supposed to have completed. He's not supposed to have completed it yet, but it's due. It's not due It's due in a short while, let's say a week, and it was given to them a week ago. He's been thinking about how to go about it because he wants to get his best mark. He values good performance. He wants to get his best mark, but he hasn't quite worked out how best he should attend to this project. So it hasn't been started. So that's Emma. That's the current situation with Emma. And his mom is actually concerned about his performance, but she hasn't quite worked out what the difficulty or challenge he could be facing with his study and with his homework. So let's look at what the issues are and how she can best support him. So Emma's mom is a very busy lady. She's got a corporate job and a little side gig that she's trying to get off the ground. So she is kind of, much of the time, a bit pressed for time. So she is perplexed as to what is bothering Emma and why he can't just get on with his project, because this is what they're talking about at this particular point in time. And she just says to him, but Emma, just get on with it. So that, with a melancholic child, just get on with it, just cannot work. They tend to freeze even more. They tend to get concerned that they will not be able to do their best. So the best thing that Emma's mom can do for him as a melancholic child is to listen to him, is to hear him out, is to get to know from him, to sit down with him, just the two of them together, to understand what are his fears, what are his doubts, to appreciate, to praise him for what he is good at and in the areas in which he shines. Okay, And this is best done by making time every day for her to make time every day for Emma to be able to listen and to hear him out. And when actually Emma starts, it may initially be quiet, but especially if it's something she hasn't been doing, but he will warm up, he will open up. And when he does finally warm up and open up, you may find that he starts venting a lot. It's as if all aspects of his life, he's not happy with any aspect of his life. But it's important to know that his venting is just a way of doing away with what the negativity that has accumulated from the many upsetting events of the day. And after he has vented, he'll be in a much better space to do his homework. So if we had to look at we walked through Emma's day. If we had to talk about the situation of the boy whose foot the boy who he accidentally bumped into. When he talks about his day to his mom, this is something that is quite likely to come up. And what his mom can do is to role play with him how he could have gone, how he could have addressed that situation. There's something called the Assertiveness Toolkit. It's a book, if I remember right. I'll put it down in the description so that you can reference it. But it does provide different ways that children can deal with playground situations and come across as being more assertive. And when he feels that he's been assertive about a situation, he will also feel better, and it will not then again distract him in class. So when we talk about assertiveness, if he had that situation of that boy, what he could have done is, if they do it, he could practice with his mom and let them have the role play where she can. One of the solutions for that is just look, Emma, put on your most serious face. Look the boy straight in his eye. And if he's scared to look him straight in the eye, he can look at his nose, or he can look at his eyebrows or his forehead and tell him in your most serious voice that was an accident and he must appreciate it as that. So as Emma gets more assertive with, practicing various strategies he can for these different difficult types of children, then that is less likely to bother him. On the issue of raising his hand in class, yes, he may be feeling silly from such a past incident, but he may also feel silly because he may also be reluctant to put up his hand to ask something that he's not clear about, because they are perfectionists. Remember, the melancholic child is a bit of a perfectionist. So he may want to get things only right. But maybe his mom could normalize this for him and just point out that not everybody, if you look at if you look at children in class, does everybody who puts up their hand, do they all get things right? No, he will say. Then you can say to him then that's fine. Just you put up your hand. If you're not sure of something, you never know that there are other children who could benefit from what you don't know. And that will open him up to putting up his hand a bit more. Of course, this is a daily discussion, and, they can share strategies like that, or, perspective, things that can shift his perspective. So when it comes to the issue with the friends, like he was quite, he took it quite hard that his friends stepped on him by mistake. So of course he was already upset. That's one point. But also melancholic kids tend to expect perfection. There is a way things should be. There's a way other children should behave. So that can sometimes, those expectations and the resulting reactions can make it, can alienate their friends from them. So it's just good as his mom is listening to how his day has gone, and he raises that. She can just explain to him that I think it was a mistake. Your friend really, you see how much your friend likes you, because remember that melancholics are, as friends, they're very loyal, they're very faithful, and very sensitive, even though they may come across as insensitive within their relationships, and they take them very seriously. So that is not they also need to learn how to, when the friends slight them, how they should perceive, or how they should take such mistakes from the friends. Then when it comes to getting back home from school, because they take time to process things, they need to process their day. So when they get back, you might find them daydreamy, slow, or just not getting on to their homework straight away. So we just need to remember that they need to decompress. So just allow them time to be on their own. If they would like that, allow them time to be on their own so that they can rejuvenate and recharge, and after that be in a much better space to now come and get on with their homework. So that's something very important to remember for them. And then lastly, the homework itself, the thing about paralysis by analysis, whereby they're thinking about their homework a great deal instead of how best they can do their homework, and not actually getting started with the homework. That as the mom asks him, his mom asks him, how is his homework doing? How is his homework going? She realizes that you can just encourage him to be able to start on the homework, and it doesn't, that he can at least get started, and with time he can correct what he doesn't like. But what's important is to actually just get started with whatever ideas he has. So I have personally used these approaches and guided moms through them, and they have worked very well. They're just some of the ways in which I've helped moms and myself as well. So if you're a mom who'd like help supporting your child through and out of this type of struggle, please be sure to comment below. Thank you.